I'm sure everyone who's clicked on this video has their own opinions about Sasuke, but let's be real, he was a real dickhead in Shippuden. When I originally watched Naruto, I had a hard time finding reasons to like Sasuke. He was cold, arrogant, and narcissistic. He had a superiority complex while also finding a way to have an inferiority complex. He was obsessed with vengeance and would slaughter anyone who bowed in his way. For the longest time now, I've disliked Sasuke. But then again, I've never tried to understand just who he is and why he did what he did. My hope is by creating this video, I'll come to understand Sasuke and his actions a little more, and if you're in the same boat as me, I hope it helps you too. To truly understand who he is, we'll have to start in the early years of the Naruto series, move to Shippuden, and then end with what he's like as an adult in Boruto. So, let's figure out just exactly who Sasuke is. During his childhood, Sasuke was a happy-go-lucky kid who wanted to impress his father and grow up to be just like his older brother. That was until Itachi killed the entire Uchiha clan, including their parents, and left Sasuke alone, telling him to claim power and come and find and kill him when he has it. This trauma completely changed Sasuke, and he went from being a cheerful boy to a lost and depressed child. As one would expect, may I say. This event is the root cause for why Sasuke is the way he is. Sasuke became a self-made loner because he thought no one could understand the pain and suffering he's going through. Even though he was ever so popular, he never gave two shits. The events of the massacre had another effect though. Sasuke became obsessed with the idea of vengeance for his clan. So not only was this the cause of Sasuke's main obsession, but also the reason he refuses to rely on others. His big brother that he always looked up to murdered his parents, and it's that grave betrayal that has put trust issues in Sasuke's heart. A few years after the events of the Uchiha massacre, Sasuke graduates the Ninja Academy. All Academy students receive the rank of Genin and are put into 4-man cells, 3 Genin and 1 Jonin. Sasuke is put with Sakura and Naruto. One is particularly fond of him, and the other not so much. They are assigned to Kakashi, one of the greatest Jonin of all time, and they form Team 7. Over the next couple years, Sasuke forms bonds with all his team members. For a while, it seems that Sasuke is actually growing and becoming a team player. But then you realize that there's still a 500 episode part 2. Over this time, Sasuke and Naruto develop a stronger rivalry, as Naruto for once actually tries to get better instead of running around doing stupid shit all day. This is largely due to the fact that Naruto finally has people who will believe in him and support him, which was the biggest mental block for him to face. With this block gone, Naruto chases his dream of becoming Hokage, and in the process becomes stronger. During this, Sasuke also trains to become a better version of himself so he can fight his brother. But Sasuke becomes dismayed later on, seeing the guy who was an absolute shitter a year ago now come to be stronger than him. I think Sasuke fails to see in part 1 of Naruto, and part 2 for that matter, is that bonds between each other strengthen yourself and others. While Sasuke sees it as something that holds you back, for Naruto it's the clear opposite. The rivalry between Sasuke and Naruto is largely 2 things. The first is loner versus bonds, and the second is talent versus effort. While Sasuke is not always alone, whether it be Team 7, his Team Heavy, or just Naruto himself, it's obvious that he prefers being a loner. Naruto is the opposite force of this. As for talent vs effort, it's not as though Sasuke didn't train hard to be where he is. He obviously did, but when comparing the two, Naruto is all effort. There's been multiple times where Sasuke has been stronger than Naruto, but through sheer effort Naruto was able to catch up. Sasuke relies heavily on his sheer talent, where Naruto relies heavily on his ability to train like no other. Near the end of part 1, Sasuke realizes there is a gap between him and Naruto. And not just that, but he also meets his brother again, who claps his cheeks like the little brat he is. One thing Sasuke struggles with is power. He's obsessed with it. When someone is stronger than him, he obsesses over it and feels worthless and shuts down. When he is stronger than others though, he believes he is more important and has a better status. The reality of the situation is that you only matter as much as the person next to you. Even if you're stronger than someone else, you both live and die the same. So really, Sasuke is just a dickhead narcissist. When Sasuke feels lesser, he does what most people do, look for a shortcut to the top. So Sasuke decides to follow the strange snake-like man into his lair where he experiments on people. While this is basically the equivalent of following a heroin addict into the back of a dark alley, Sasuke doesn't give a shit because it means he can become more powerful than Naruto and Itachi. After deciding this, Naruto and Sasuke have one last confrontation. Their beliefs clash, and the battle you've been waiting 100 episodes for finally takes place. The results of this battle are Naruto realizing that him and Sasuke have different types of pain. Sasuke saying his is worse because he had bonds that were taken away, while Naruto never had any. In reality, both him and Naruto have extremely hard upbringings. While it's fair for him to say that Naruto would never understand because he's never lost anyone, it's not fair to consider Naruto's trauma of being hated by the whole village as irrelevant. In the aftermath of the battle, Sasuke has an opportunity to kill Naruto, but he chooses not to, saying he wants to take his own path and not the one Itachi had laid out for him. While there is truth in that, I think the larger reason is Sasuke physically couldn't cut the bond he had with Naruto. Naruto's the closest thing Sasuke has to a friend, and he just can't bring himself to do it. And so, he chooses to walk away. In a 3-year time skip between Naruto and Shippuden, Sasuke trains to become more powerful than Itachi, which is a lofty goal to say the least. By about the halfway point through Shippuden, Sasuke finally gets to confront Itachi in one of the most epic battles of the series. To get to this point, Sasuke has killed Orochimaru, formed a small team named Hebi, and has grown up to be even more emo than Linkin Park. In the end, Sasuke does win the fight, but let's be real. Sasuke won by default due to the fact that Itachi had an underlying disease, was half blind, and was ready to die. Regardless, our boy gets super cocky in his abilities, which is something that will come to bite him in the ass later. After Itachi dies, Tobi approaches Sasuke and ends up spilling the beans of Itachi's full story. Sasuke, as well as we, find out that Itachi was actually a really good guy who slaughtered the Uchiha and took the blame to prevent the Uchiha from starting an uprising, which in turn saved the Leaf Village. The reason that Itachi chose the genocide route was so that Sasuke could be spared, which was his one condition for completing the massacre. After hearing the story and also unsure of what to do with his life now that his brother is dead, Sasuke decides to pursue a new passion. And that ends up being the murder of all the higher-ups in the Leaf Village, as well as the destruction of it. Before Sasuke goes to complete his new vengeance arc, he decides to join the Akatsuki, as Tobi promises him that he'll have his revenge on the Leaf Village if he helps them capture Killer Bee, the Eight Tails. Of course, our emo boy is smart enough not to trust Tobi and decides to play along for now, confident that he can take on Killer Bee with his little boy band. When Sasuke goes to confront Killer Bee, he gets his cocky cheeks absolutely clapped and is basically revived from the death by Jugo. In the end, they got lucky and captured Killer Bee, or so they thought. After getting a reality check from Bee, Sasuke says fuck it and decides to kill all the Kage. At this point in the anime, Sasuke is at his lowest point. He's now directed his obsession for hate and lust for vengeance that he held for his brother towards the Leaf. And he's got so much pent-up teenage angst it could sink an aircraft carrier. After failing to kill any of the Kage during the committee meeting, Sasuke confronts Danzo, who decided that he is the most fit for Hokage during Tsunade's coma, and they fight to the death. Nearing the end of the fight, Danzo takes Karen hostage, and with a psychotic look in Sasuke's eyes, he does us all a favor and shuts her up for a few minutes. Too bad it wasn't longer. After killing Danzo, Sasuke still felt it wasn't enough and sought more vengeance. To him, more had to be done to make up for all the suffering he and his brother went through. Of course, the problem with Sasuke at this time is he has complete, utter tunnel vision and does not give a shit what other problems his actions may cause. While there's an obvious problem in the shadows of the Kage's form of ruling, tearing it apart will have a severe consequence on all the people. This ends up being something that Naruto and Sasuke will fight about later on. Sasuke also suffers from severe narcissism during this time, thinking it's his way or the highway, and anyone in his path should die. He follows this path for a while, and it's when he gets to meet his brother once more as a revived corpse that he gets some answers. Itachi confirmed that all the things Tobi said were true, but also gave some food for thought that Sasuke didn't understand. Even after being wronged by the village, Itachi still loved the village and would protect it with his life. Twice even. This made Sasuke rethink his goal of destroying the village and its people, and made him more curious of what exactly makes a village. This is something Sasuke ends up asking the first Hokage after he revives him, and he switches his goal from destroying the village to becoming the Hokage. Pretty drastic change if you ask me. What Sasuke really wants here is to change the way that society is being governed. He wants to prevent something like what happened to his brother and the Uchiha from ever happening again, and he can do this from the hot seat of the Hokage. The only problem is Sasuke doesn't want to be elected into this position. He wants to take it by force. This goes against the belief that Naruto and Itachi both hold. You don't become the Hokage to be acknowledged by everyone. The one who is acknowledged by everyone becomes the Hokage. While Sasuke has a valid and good reason for wanting to be the Hokage, the path he has taken to this point invalidates that and makes him unfit for the position of a leader of a village. As I said earlier, Sasuke is a narcissist, so it's not like he gives two shits though. After defeating Kaguya, Sasuke uses the power of the tailed beast to try and forcibly take power, so that he can rule over and change the world into his ideal image. Naruto now is the only one that can stand in his way, so Sasuke decides to fight him to the death. He becomes troubled though. Even after all this time and all the horrid actions he's committed, Naruto has never given up on Sasuke. Even as Sasuke tries to kill him, Naruto only fights back. He never tries to deal a killing blow. This is not very different than the time when they were kids. Naruto is still fighting to bring Sasuke back home. The two clash on viewpoints, Naruto thinking that the village should remain the way it is, and they can work for it to become better, while Sasuke believes the only way to change the village is to destroy it all and start anew. While the final battle is a clash of many different viewpoints and ideals, this one is in the front seat. Nearing the end of the fight, Sasuke and Naruto both reach their limits, and with one final blow, they take each other's arms. After the dust settles, Sasuke realizes he's lost. He failed to kill Naruto, even with an extreme power-up and advantage, and Naruto successfully uses his ultimate jutsu, Tak no Jutsu. Sasuke believes there's no going back, and that he's on a path of no return. There's no way for anyone to accept his return to the leaf, and so his road ends here. Naruto tells him though, that he can still redeem himself and build bridges once again. While in real life that wouldn't really work after committing so many war crimes, we're just gonna look over that for now. With this, Sasuke accepts Naruto's offer and decides to spend his lifetime working towards redemption. Sasuke's actions during Shippuden were really all over the place, but it really suits when it takes place. Your teenage years of your life are confusing and a mess, and you always feel strong emotions over every little thing. Sasuke's time in Shippuden was spent learning mostly about the lies surrounding his clan and who they truly are and what actually happened. He ends up learning about different points of view from his brother and struggles to find his own after letting his life be consumed by vengeance. The whole time he felt that he had no home and no one to go back to, but in the end he learns that Naruto was always there for him. By the start of Boruto, Sasuke has been traveling the world and atoning for his sins for nearly 12 years. When he finally gets some screen time, we see that his cold demeanor and his emo hair has not changed one bit. But he is no longer a wannabe serial killer, so there's always a plus. It seems that over time, Sasuke has come to lean into the bond that him and Naruto share a little more, and they both rely on each other very strongly throughout the show. Sasuke acts very much for the village and his friends and family now, and he has come to understand just what Naruto was working to protect during their teenage years. While Sasuke has a lot of room to grow as a father, he has become a greater person and in turn earned back a lot of respect from the older folks. Sasuke's character arc is one of redemption. We see him sink to the lowest point, but we also get to see him rise again. He learns what it means to become part of something bigger and comes to know just how much a human life is worth. He finds new meanings in his life besides seeking revenge, and he learns just how impactful bonds can be. Sasuke is a classic example of growing up to realize how many stupid things you've done in the past. And instead of running away from his actions, he decides to atone for them. So Sasuke, you emo bastard, I have to say, you've definitely won me over. Thank you guys for watching this week's video. I hope you enjoyed this content that I chose to cover. If you have any suggestions of what you might want to see next, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. If you liked this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. And with all that said, I'll see you next time.